live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Maude's Book Club. Zelda! Welcome to Maude's Book Club, everyone. I'm wearing lots of orange to brighten up this dark episode of Maude's Book Club. We are talking Dark Age by Pierce Brown. Woo! Collectively need a hug, I suppose. Ow! Gosh darn it. I got leg pain. I'm old. I hurt my back. And now I have spasms behind my knee. Just started. That's so cool. That's so cool. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Part 2 is happening, which means full spoilers going ahead with Dark Age. It is book 5 of the Red Rising universe. Will Poss, a big fan of the Red Rising series, already saying, whoo, hey all, what a ride. Jay Bunrock, thank you so much for gifting 10 subs to the community, kicking things off nice and strong. Darkman, my butt itches, god damn it. Why is that your name? And you've joined our Discord as well. Wow. What are you confessing to? Why do I have to say it? Baby Crumbs, Salsa Club President. See, that's a name. That's wholesome. Beralze, Corny Scoop. Praetor Chaos. Oh, we like that. That's very on point. Arrow in the other knee. See, that's an inside joke I get. Hi, it's Kai. Love a good rhyme. And Wendy M. Dub. Thank you so much to Jay Buntrock. If you got gifted a sub, thanks to Jay Buntrock. Make sure you say thank you because we are a nice community. Jay Buntrock is feeling generous because didn't finish the book. Says, I wanted to stop by and give some subs and say hi. Have a good night, everyone. We are going full spoilers here. I do appreciate you, Jay Buntrock, for popping on by and for confessing. This is a safe space. And it was a chunky book. And I did a lot of Reddit research on this one. And this is the book that caused a lot of slumps. Either stopping after the first few chapters, stopping midway, or needing a break afterwards. It's called Dark Age for a reason. Hey, Terry and Ken. Terry and wait, who's that? Academic, I need you to mute my bud. I can hear my Twitch. It's me on repeat. Otherwise, I'm going to have to mute you. If you're wondering what all these other noises are happening, we've got a whole community sitting there in a Discord call at the moment. It is a perk of the book club if you do want to get involved in it. It is like having a classroom full of contributors here. It's $15 on patreon.com/Maude. Wait. She choked. Maude's Book Club. It is a fantastic community. We've got all sorts of peeps. They're all amazing. Everyone's got unique perspectives, which I believe is the most important part of the book club. I love everyone's thoughts. If you do want to get involved in that, we do have more spaces. Head on over. We also do a little hangout after the show. We all get together and, with the cameras off. Well, it's not broadcast. We have a little chat-ski. Cheyenne says, I'm just popping to say hi since I'm way behind on Red Rising. Cheyenne, I'd love to hear your thoughts so far on Red Rising, though. We did start that one in March last year, so we have been slowly making our way through the Red Rising series. Thank you to the new people joining the Discord as well. We hit 1,500. I hope my headphones lasted 2 hours. I don't like the cord sticking out. We hit 1,500 in the Discord. Now is the best time to get involved in a sci-fi fantasy online book club. If you're on TikTok, hello there in Maude We Trust. And Frito. Interesting that both of you are in there at the same time. I've got a big camera and a small camera. Oh, fantastic. You know what that means? You can bugger off. Delete, and then you can go on in the Discord. Hey! Thank you, K Frito, for helping me out for that one. I appreciate it. If you're tuning in on TikTok, I'm just giving it a go. As soon as it starts affecting the stream, but if it works, then I'm trying to get involved in Book Talk because that is a really fun place to be. Maude's Book Club has a TikTok now. I just put up a video on our next book for May and June. I am matching it. Look how cute this is. We're matching. I feel like it's getting pretty serious. We'll be together for the next 2 months. You know what, City? This is the first time you've put your camera on, and now I can actually see when you face palm when I talk. That was a double face palm too. That was oh no. Listen, our community means we throw shade, and I receive a lot too. But it is, that's just how we roll around here. No one's safe, not even me. But if you can't take it, don't dish it. That's what I've learned, and so that's why we're all. I was gonna say something else. A little spicy, a little slicey. I don't know. I'll figure out another word instead of cunty, that's for sure. Lone North Star says, one of these days I need to get back to Way of Kings. Good series. Hey, Lone North Star, this is your sign. Read it with the book club. Oh my gosh, the camera shakes when I put the book down. 1,000 pages. We're splitting it up into 4 parts. We're going to be talking about it. Hey, speaking of exceptionally big books as well, Dark Age is a chunkster. You can see when I stopped reading it and went to audiobook because I didn't think I was going to finish it in time. Yes, Clunt. That's better, Toaster Poster. Thank you so much. Toaster Poster says, book talk drama can be funny sometimes. Look, as long as it never involves me, I'm all for it. Avery says, look, I definitely almost went into a reading slump after this one, but I read some Murderbot, which rescued me. I saw your 5-star review of that one as well. You were just like, thank God for Murderbot. Like, doing a little bit of CPR on wanting to read. My whole technique, for those that are wondering how you get through a difficult and heavy book, I have a light, fun and fluffy book that I read at night to balance it out. So it's like emotional damage revival, repeat and rinse until we finish the book, which is what we did. MV23, thank you so much for the follow just now. Welcome to Maude's Book Club. You're now a member. That's how that works. You are now a member. Wait, who said it's a trap? No, we don't tell them. They have to figure it out. They'll get there eventually. Oh, hey. Thank you. Good to have you back. KP Dubs also gifted a subs to KSE Bast7 and Patricia Hirschberger. And Oddball's coming in hot. Are we doing a hype train? Is there a hype train happening? A two? Or do I just have allergies because there's a choo-choo happening around here? City, where are you on that one? That was for you. Jimmy gave me a boom tish, which I'll take. Hey, Oddball's gifted 10 subs. The Gambler got one. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's terrible. Thank you. Actually, I didn't think that was that bad. Gambler, Yip Eugene, Radioactive Bullfrog, Tar Heel, Action Redacted, great name, Canadian JP. That's all you get. That's all you get for having AWRLO1 for a name. Dak and Cheese. Oh, like mac and cheese, but your name's Dak? Appreciate it. Will Poss 1 got one, and Cessnut. I don't want to ask questions about that one. Will Poss has already said thank you so much for that one. Thank you, Oddball. Appreciate it. We're on a level 5 hype train. Woohoo! Academic said, where? Dark Age could be bigger. Little shrug on that one. I felt it. Thierry says 2 months that I can read from my TBR book pile. Oh, you're not going to do it? You're not going to do Way of Kings, Thierry? Nah. What's on your TBR then?
The 3-body problem.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to continue the Reacher series.
Oh, you're doing Jack Reacher?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Academics having an epiphany here going, wait, do I like being emotionally damaged? We'll find out over the next 2 hours if that's a yes or not. Will Poss says, haha, yes, Murderbot is a good palate cleanser. If you don't know Murderbot, we've done, I think, the first 5 of Murderbot. Thank you, Lisa. 5 of Murderbot. It is a very, very fun series which sort of uses humor and staleness, which is a part of humor as well. I find like there's a bluntness that I think that we all appreciate. And it's some epic sci-fi that I absolutely love, written by Martha Wells, and we've had her on the podcast. If you're not following along Maude's Book Club on Spotify, hey, look it up, click a button, get involved. All these fun author Q&As that I've been doing, including the previous 4 with Pierce Brown for the first 4 books, are all going to be episodes on Spotify's podcast. You know the drill. Rate, review. They all count. Except Jimmy, I'm banning you from doing reviews from now on. I'm banning you. You're done. You know what you did. You know what you did.
I know, I'm too harsh on myself. I apologize. This is just, I'm a true artist. And when you're a true artist, you just become too hard on yourself. So you got to have more grace. I get it.
We need to mute him really fast. There we go. Podcast. Thank you. That's right. Will Poss is commenting on Thierry's TBR saying, great choices there. 3 body problem is excellent. Reacher is excellent. Look, I've got thoughts on 3 body problem. I thought that the first third of that book was the best. I thought that thriller concept of scientists wanting to commit suicide because they've all discovered something. I was like, give me more of that. That sounds incredible. And then they were like, VR. Anyway, I don't want to spoil too much. It lost it for me. It went too hard on the science. You got to go soft science, which is just palatable science, which is correct, great science, but entertaining. You got to go Andy Weir on it. Don't go weird, just go
Andy
weird.
Weir's some pretty hard science.
Yeah, but it's palatable. Except Artemis, I was kind of like, but like, I could fly to Mars because of Andy Weir now. Like, it's kind of like, I've watched 21 seasons of Law and Order SVU. I could totally represent someone in a court case. I object, Your Honor. You know, like, that's probably a really good reality TV show. Everyone's talking about how the cop was really good in that book. Has anyone seen the show yet? I need to watch the show. Thanks for the bits, Baden. Appreciate it. Oh, and KB does.
Show's good.
It's
got the suspenseful.
It is suspenseful?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God you said represented someone in a court case. That could have been much worse. Oh, yeah. But I'm sure it was a near slip. And just another reason that I could get cancelled any second, anytime I open my mouth on the internet. What a time to be alive. AJ, I'll read it. AJ commented on TikTok saying, Maude, you are very pretty. I feel like I needed that one today. Thank you. KP Dubs, you're gifting subs to Squishy Twitchy. Are you doing these on purpose or is this random? I'm looking up Squishy Twitchy. Agent Erip and Carl Knight. That's so lovely. Are you trying to get us? We're on level 6 for the hype train. We cleared 5. Heavy Dubs is so subtle with his facial expressions in the video chat. He just goes, oh, I saw that one. Yeah. Anyway, we got some Dark Age to talk about, everyone. I think that's all the housekeeping. I feel that's all the housekeeping. Tass, is that all the housekeeping? We're doing the Way of Kings. I'll talk about it at the end as well, but we're doing
the interview with
bonus book. Oh, there you go.
Bonus book, Ruthless Cows that we're calling it. It's an in-joke. Call it Ruthless Cows. Colleen did a spelling error once, and we're committing to it because it's funny, and we like funny around here.
It's the sequel to Bovine Rivals.
You really put so much thought behind
that one was
that was good. That was very good. Q&A. We've got a Q&A with Pierce happening on Friday. Put it in the calendars, everyone. 5 till 6 p.m. PT. If you're a book club member, you can ask Pierce your question about Dark Age directly. Well, I will be the mouthpiece for you, but you tell me the question that you want him to answer. You want who hurt you?
Yeah, so it's clearly someone's going to ask Pierce, who hurt you?
I feel like we do need to talk about the turn that this one took and why he felt it necessary. But you know what? A couple of people within the book club here have thoughts and feelings, but are going to determine their review and score of the book after we have discussed. Lisa, you're one of them. You're like, you know what? Not a fun book to read. Maybe talking it through with the community will either increase my score because I need, to chat and talk it through to appreciate it. Or maybe we're just going to stick with the 3-star. Darren said, I didn't find it too bad, but I think I'm alone in that one. Darren. therapy is available. There are some resources that I can suggest.
I'm not as emotionally attached to all the characters as everyone is, so anything can happen to them, and I'm like, cool. As long as it's cool and drives the story forward, I'm fine with it.
Okay, so I really love to talk about that because you thought Iron Gold was the best of the books so far. What is it about these academic? Was that to the conversation or is something else happening? That was such a visceral reaction. You were just like, nah. But yeah, Darren, you liked this book more, or you liked Iron Gold more. How are you enjoying it because you're more detached from the characters? Help me.
I like the characters, but I don't necessarily care if something bad happens to them. As long as it's something that's interesting and drives the story forward, which for Pierce is generally the case. It's if something bad happens to somebody, there is usually a driving factor behind it, which is good. It's not just there for wow factor. It's done on purpose. So and I liked all the new characters. I definitely Iron Gold in this one. I like these ones better than any of the original trilogy. I liked this one because of all the confusing tangled threads. I really enjoyed trying to puzzle things out. That's why I think this one has been my favorite of all of them so far.
5 stars?
5 out of 5. Loved it.
5. We got our first 5. Who else wants to weigh in on their scores? Darren, click your camera off and on again because it's just doing a little thinking. I don't know if it's just me.
Darren, I'm not thinking it was that bad.
You're not thinking that it's that bad?
I agree with Darren. It's not as bad as everybody's making it out to be. That's all.
Yep. Okay. What'd you give it out of 5?
There were 2 things that were kind of like whoa, and those were kind of it for me.
Okay.
And like those are the 2 most like sort of brutal things I would say, and then the rest of it I was kind of. Actually, I think that's where everyone's kind of the same. Know what I'm talking about?
We'll get there. Oh boy, will we unpack that one. I also texted Pierce about it, and I will tell you his reaction and response, which left me responding in all capital letters. Pierce, what the fuck? So we will get that. We got a little lurking happening. Also, Avery, thank you for using your Prime. I appreciate it. What is that? 20 something months? I saw it. Where'd you go? 22 months. Appreciate that one. Lone Star, big hello. How are you, bud? Darren, you got to click your camera on and off again. Off and on again. Hello, Nick. Lovely to have you here. I know you've just joined us, but do you want to give me your score out of 5? We can collect thoughts as well. Will Poss is giving it a 5 out of 5. Although the clone almost made it not a 5 out of 5. Ooh. There are 3 cams that are just spinning wheels. All right, so who else has got a spinning wheel, Ken? Darren, I know that your camera's not connecting still. I'm not sure why. Nick and Katie don't have their cameras on, so that's all right. Oh, Darren's just pieced. We'll see what happens there. Oh, Katie, hello. How are you, love? How was work?
Good. It was work.
Yep.
I give this book a 4 out of 5.
Okay.
I think I'm burnt out a little bit on Red Rising because I binged them all before this one, and I was just kind of meh.
Wow, that's it. I mean, binging this series is tough. So everyone, where's my golf claps? Let's get Katie. No, we literally. I love that everyone's clapping, but there it is. We've got sound effects. That's amazing. But you know what? Shout out to everyone who actually did clap because that took effort, and I appreciate it. A couple of 3.5s. KP Dubs and Vaden. Starting with you, KP Dubs. 3.5. That's quite the hit. Tell me your thoughts for this one.
I thought Pierce's writing has gotten better and better. His descriptiveness, that part is great. I don't mind all the different threads. That part is great. Yeah. I just want to see a hero get a win once in a while, and there were like none in this book. It's just want escapism. You want to get away from like the crappy world we live in, and instead it got worse than that. That's what was not fun for me.
This is the hard thing about books, and I'm going to go into a really big conversation. I want to get everyone's opinion on it in the chat as we do go through some more reviews. When we rate and review books, enjoying the book is a huge factor. If this book is supposed to be dark and supposed to be hard and supposed to be full of defeat, we, the reader, aren't enjoying it as much. Is that impacting your score? And I think for a bunch of us, the answer is yes. Lisa's sitting on a 4 right now. Last time you reviewed it a few days ago, it was a 3. How you deciding?
No, I think I have it 4 on Goodreads.
That's my bad.
I'm just. It wasn't my favorite out of the series so far. Like I feel like it's still kind of Golden Sun and I don't know, maybe Iron Gold. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel. Like there was so much that happened and it was so depressing. There's only like a few spots where I was like, oh, that was far. Like
got it. Yeah.
I'm sure it's probably the same as everybody else, but I don't know. It was just a dark book and I don't know if I just wasn't in the mood for it. It might be something that changes on a reread because I've given every other book 5 stars, so we'll see. It might be that I just wasn't in the mood. But it's still really good writing. I still love all the characters, and if specific characters die, I will riot.
Yeah. But that we'll talk about some.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the deaths. This is spoiler. If you haven't read the book, we're going to spoil some things for you. Okay, 4. I like it. Aslan the Jazzman says, hi and bye. I haven't gotten around to the Red Rising series yet, but I'm glad to see people are still enjoying it this deep into the series. I'll see you all for The Way of Kings as long as I manage to get through the 45 hours of audiobook. Well, we're going to get started is all I can say. Airwolf, hello, says good evening all. Wilpos says, I also thought it was better on the reread. While there may not be a lot of victories, I think there are enough moments of victory and some extremely good writing that makes it all not too dark. Vaden, you gave it a 3.5 as well.
Yeah. Basically, my issue with it was like a lot of us relate to the plot stuff. Like I felt like so many people dying felt like not just the dying, but also like it just seemed like not necessarily pointless, but not like unsatisfactory. And there's just so many betrayals that go on through the book. There's like every single faction gets betrayed. Every single one has a mole that goes in, spies on them, betrays them, and no one can find these moles apparently. Like it seems strange to me that like 10 years of the war has gone on and like they just fall for every single trick. Like it's strange to me. Like they were winning so well. Like the Red Rising was winning. They were doing great. And all of a sudden now everything's falling apart. And it seems like why after all 10 years of this have they just been losing and everything?
Yeah. That's a good point. I would say exhaustion. You're just not switched on the whole time. There is burnout. We're burnt out reading it. Imagine living it, you know. Hui. Kfredo says they needed to run an empire. It's not easy. How about you? Snake says, hey, I'm paraphrasing because the comment went way back. You ever think about doing a Dark Tower book for book club? Lisa did respond saying, Maude read book 1 of Dark Tower with Nerdist years ago. I believe it was 2017. Not sure she wants to get back into that one. Didn't love Dark Tower, the first book, not gonna lie. That was a slog for me. But I read it. But you know, if you're in the Discord, we've got a recommendations chat. So go ham. Katie Butler 13, thanks for the follow a few minutes ago. Appreciate your welcome to Maude's Book Club. KB Dub says there's only 7 reviews via the Fable group, but the average is 3.9. Thank you, KP Dubs, for that one. Academic, you gave it a 5?
Yeah, for sure. It gets a 5 from me. And I guess from the context, think about this from my point of view, is I've already read this book already, and I've also not read book 6. And I think that I was with a lot of you. I've been waiting for the book club to catch up to read book 6. So I've been, I think I was with a lot of you when I first read this book, where I was like giving it a 4, maybe a 3.5, just because of how down I felt. But now that I was sort of like prepared for a lot of those doldrums that we faced in this book, I was like, okay, I know this is coming. My heart's ready for it. Let me analyze everything that's going on. And honestly, I love what Pierce did thematically in this book and what it thematically does for the rest of the series. And I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay. I like that.
I absolutely follow up with the academic. I had the exact same thought.
Really?
Yep. I would go as far as to say this is the first time I read it, I definitely would agree with a lot of what people are saying. This is not really my kind of book. I thoroughly disliked Poppy War because of how dark it was. I would have gone with 3.5, 4, because it's got great writing, but damn, is it depressing. But I'm at the point now where I've read this book multiple times, and I would go as far as to give it a 6 out of 5. This is a book that, you know how when you're a kid, you watch a movie and you just kind of watch the movie, you just kind of go with the flow, and then you go back and years later, you watch it again, and you can really start to understand subtleties. You really start to understand why things are happening and what they mean for the characters. This was that book for me, or that movie, I could say. I was able to understand a lot more. I was able to get a lot of feeling out of what's happening and why when I read it more.
That's so interesting. And I want to give this book credit because usually when you read a hard and heavy book, that really does give you emotional damage. You don't want to jump back into it. It's a one and done. You're like, that hurt. I need to be in a headspace to be able to receive this. There's like heavy movies that you're like, cool, I saw it once. I never need to experience that again. So the fact that people are jumping back into a reread and appreciating it even more, that's a great testament. So I'm so glad and grateful for that feedback. Will Poss pretty much says the same thing, says love it, City. So is on that same page, pun intended. Okay. K Frito says, I read that from a lot of people. This seems to be a reread.
394.
This seems to be a reread book. Who else wants to get their review?
Iron Gold for them.
The what?
Iron Gold is also a reread book. That's also another book that you can appreciate a lot more when you go back and reread it. You might,
I liked it better the second time.
Yeah.
I power read
Dark
it.
Age, this is the exact same way.
I actually stopped. The first time I read Dark Age, I was trying to read it in time for Pierce's Lightbringer book tour, so I didn't get spoiled. And I powered through Iron Gold. The adjustment was really difficult for me with the different points of view and the time jump. And then I got about a quarter of the way or a third of the way through Dark Age. And then I was like, I cannot tell you a single thing that happens. I am not in this book. And so I stopped. And luckily, nothing got spoiled for me in the book tour. This time round, though, I was a lot more open and ready. And there's still probably a couple of things that I missed because the second half of the book, I listened to it. And every now and then, I'd be like, oh, back. What? So bear with me if I did miss some parts of this discussion that we have. That is the sacrifice I have to make when I do audiobooks, which is why I'm buying the physical copies so I can actually read it because less gets by. And
I use the clip feature to leave little notes wherever I find something. So I have a bunch of notes for this.
And I need to go on to Fable after the chapter's finished and do little recaps and comments there as well. But I think I'm so focused on trying to listen to it and I won't stop cleanly at the end of a chapter. So I don't have that luxury. But hey guys, we're on Fable. It's a free app. It's a book club app. Essentially all the chapters are broken down. And once you finish a chapter, you go into the community and you write a little bit about it. It's a cool way for fast readers to flex. And to, hit the spoilers and big points before. I had, I think, one comment in the last 2/3 of this book. I can't even remember what I said, but I was just like, my boy's back. I think that's all I said. What the? 900th? Good Lord. Jesus Christ. Catch22 has gifted a sub to Carrie Bear 35. Is that a friend of yours? It is. I knew that. Haha. Sometimes I remember. Lisa says, I'm terrible at writing in Fable. I'm either fantastic. I think it's like when it's an easier and lighter book, like Divine Rivals, I felt like I was there throughout the entire book, which means Ruthless Vows I'll likely be as well. Avery says, everyone keeps saying it's a better reread book, but the idea of reading this again makes me want to hit my head on the desk. Yeah, it kind of makes me feel physically sick. But this is why we get to discuss it in a group. Who hasn't gotten their review in? Who wants to give me a quick review? Tim, I thought you did. You just said it was. You said it was 5. You said it wasn't as bad as everyone else says it is. That's your review.
So yeah, and then Darren cut me off because he's a jerk.
That's so not true. Darren,
he did cut me off. He's not a jerk, but he did cut me off.
He just waved like hello. I love that.
No, I didn't give this book.
Well, I was trying to
He did it again. That's great. Oh, that's great. He just did it again. We're a very welcoming, inclusive community that are wonderful and respectful. Join us. Go, Tim.
Jesus Christ. I didn't give this book a 5. For sure didn't give it I just didn't think it was as dark as everybody said it was. Disturbing. That's all. But I gave it like a 4.5, maybe 4.25, somewhere in there. If I'm being completely honest, and this will probably be a hot take, but I think Red Rising is probably my favorite book in the series. So
why?
And Ken's just gonna keep doing that as all.
No, that me. Talking. That was all me. That was me.
That you? That you?
Yes.
It just seems like a Ken thing to do.
I could have let
Why is Red Rising? Why is Red? You
Yeah.
could have. I don't know. Red Rising just connected with me more than any other book in the series. Which isn't to say that the rest of the books are bad. It's just that's my favorite book. But I'm also the weird guy that thinks A New Hope is the best Star Wars movie. So.
You know what? There are no wrong answers.
I see that face.
There are no wrong answers here. We like what we like.
There were just a lot of things in this book that I read, and I was like, they were what the fuck moments, but they were what the fuck moments because it wasn't like a holy shit what the fuck. It was a really what the fuck. So, and
yeah,
I'm sure we'll get into it.
Instead of it being
they weren't like
a slap on the face, it was a shank in the gut.
No, not even that. It was more of a like questioning your sanity. Like, really? Like that just feels too on the nose or too like obvious, I guess. There's just things that happen that I was like, plot armor or completely unnecessary or blah blah blah, those kind of things that I was just like, seriously, like why? And so that's what kind of knocked it down for me, is just those moments of me going, but why? That's all.
Why? Seriously, why? No, fair enough. Thank you. No wrong answers here. Everyone's putting in the chat what their favorite book so far is. Lisa and mine are the same. Golden Sun. Something about Golden Sun. Like, it just took it from a planet to the galaxy, and it did such a good job at it, and I loved it, and it was fantastic. K. Frito says, because Pierce is the answer, Catch. That's all. Red Rising's Darren's favorite. Morningstar for K. Frito. Avery says Golden Sun as well. All answers are right, but that one is the most right answer. Dylan, thanks for popping over on TikTok. Says, this is the live Maude Garrett, my favorite, and spelt favorite with a U. So you know they're legit. KP Dubs, thank you for helping people out on the TikToks too. Well done. Okay, anyone else hasn't got their rating in? Mine's 4. It could be bumped to a 4.5. Actually, no, I put it on 5 on Goodreads. Tell Pierce it's 5. Tell Pierce it's 5. This book was difficult.
We'll clip you saying 4 and send it to.
Nope, don't do that. Look, the writing's fantastic, and I do also want to give credit to the fact that this is book number 5. And I feel like Pierce raises the bar, and it is very, very high bar. And some of the things that I thought he's done spectacularly well. Writing the characters, the arcs, the very fantastic arcs of every single one of these point of views that we've had over the last 2 books. Introducing new technologies to even build out the sci-fi aspects and elements even more. Things that you did not see coming. He does smoke and mirrors and MacGuffins in this one that I thought was really good. He's establishing a rival to Darrow, which kind of has been fast-tracked over the last 2 books, but is keeping Darrow on his toes and us, the reader, as well. And even Mustang has a rival revival happening too. So it's really, really cool. There are shocks and surprises. Yeah, I did. I rated it 5 out of 5. It's a 5. It's a 5. It's just my least favorite 5. Oh, there you go. It's my least favorite 5. Okay, let's talk about some of the plot. Hi Tay, thank you for resubbing on Prime. I appreciate it. Let's talk about some of the things that happened I actually want to start off with Lyria. I want to talk about Lyria's arc first, mainly because the majority of this arc happened in the second half of the book. She got 1 chapter in the first half, and then she had a whole, it could have been its own book. It was so well done. We are talking espionage. We are talking going undercover. We are talking creating a riot, instilling purpose and vigilante and vengeance to young girls. It's basically like Annie on crack with acid, which we needed. We are also kind of tackling a villain that we have seen throughout these books, and that is the Red Hands. So Red Hands is sort of like how would you describe them? Who wants to take on how you would describe the Red Hands city?
I think Avery had it right. It's the Taliban. You know, their ISIS. They're call themselves freedom fighters, but they act a lot more like terrorists.
Yeah.
They don't really. They're mostly just angry at this point. They don't really care who they hurt as long as they're hurting somebody.
And they're fueled by anger.
Boys.
Yeah, they're fueled by
They're
anger.
the Proud Boys.
There's no desire for peace or to band together for brilliance. It's led by Harmony. Harmony is one of the big key players of Red Rising and beyond, especially in Golden Sun. When she found out that the person she was working for to liberate the Reds was actually a Gold, that was just a pill she couldn't swallow. So she turned into a horrendous leader who we see in this book, her manipulation tactics, kidnapping girls from their homes to provide as essentially like trophies and breeding stock to keep producing Reds, what they're willing to do. Some of the most heinous things that we've seen in this book are thanks to the Red Hands. And so Lyria has had her own little corner and pocket of this book. To the Red Hands is who's killed her family as well. So this is something that's kind of been fueling her, spurring her on. She's teamed up with Volga and with Victra. Now this trio I actually really love. We've gotten more Victra in this book than we've had in other books. This is Victra's motherhood. She was a bit of a manic vestibule, I wanted to say. She was a bit manic in the last book because her children were stolen. Electra was stolen. That's a very given reaction. Victra has reminded all of us just how impressive and what a feat a Gold, a peerless Scarred really is. And I love sort of witnessing it through 3 vastly different women, with Lyria being a Red, being tiny, and being sort of like thrust into this chaos, and she's just trying to survive every step of the way. Volga, whose history and lineage is becoming a huge point and plot in the story, who's actually got a really, really sweet heart, had teamed up with Ephraim for like her entire life, and her big goal is to open a zoo with endangered animals. Like, are you kidding? What a softie. And then you've got Victra, who gave birth standing up. Didn't scream.
Like a savage, because that's what she is a friggin' savage.
Like a boss.
Like
a boss.
Like a boss. You just that visual. And like, this is when I started texting Pierce. I was like, oh my God. But the way that she handles it, like the way Pierce describes her as well, like jumping stories in combat, just taking out a slew of people. Like, she is a force of a woman who I absolutely adore. And she is mad. Absolutely. Ken, who's binged, did you say the series twice in 6 months? Ken, I have a feeling you're going to be a big voice throughout this chat as well. Says, Red Hand is the what happens when you let anger take over. Just like Titus was, what would happen to Darrow if he only had anger or had it fuel him, I suppose. She had that mum adrenaline lifting cars and shit, says Catch. Yeah. So Lyria's story, I've actually really appreciated and really liked. I didn't love her in the first book. I thought, and this had a lot to do with the voice actor, who did a great job having an Irish spin on it because Reds are supposed to be more Irish, but she was just whiny the whole time when she was talking. It's like, and I found it very, very difficult to listen to. And the voice actor changed in this book, who did a better job. Just so happens to have narrated a series that I found unlistenable, which was the Gideon the Ninth series. Gideon the 8th, Harry the 9th. Gideon's also the 9th. They're from the 9th house.
They're all 9.
They're all 9. They're all 9. She did a better job. I'm now seeing the range that this actress has, but as soon as I clicked with that, I was like, oh no, my book is now voiced by my least favorite book. But did a good job of it. Wasn't Irish. It still worked for me. The question that I sort of have here is, let's talk about Lyria's arc. The difference between Iron Gold and this book now. Did you prefer Lyria as a character? Do you like the second half of the book and how much excelled? Do you love the fact that she's basically leading a faction and is infiltrating from inside, and that she's been equipped with something called the Parasite? What did you think of this particular edition for Lyria? What's her goddamn name?
Lyria.
Lyra being the character from the trilogy called
Golden Compass.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. My friend had a baby and called her Lyra, named after that character. How cool is that? Anyway, so yeah, first conversation. Lyria better in this book, not as good. We like Lyria. We like her arc. We like the second half. Yeah, City's a big fan of this one.
Better.
Yeah,
Honestly,
she's one of my favorite.
Exactly, she's one of my favorite parts of this book.
Yeah, I enjoyed her in the last book too, just not the narrator. Like, she was one of my favorite points of view in the last book and in this book, but the narrator in Iron Gold was not good, so it was hard to listen to. But she was the most interesting character to me. So I really like the stuff we're getting with her. I was very like, where did that come from with the parasite thing? But
okay,
it's interesting. I liked it.
I'm allowing.
I feel like the parasite gave her the tools she needed to be able to, do this infiltration. I'm not sure that I'm over the moon about it as a concept.
Well, here we go.
It's got some interesting things.
I ask a book club question that I pose. The introduction of new technology like the Parasite, what do you think of this? Does it feel like a plot device or just surprising new tech in a sci-fi world? My follow-up is this what's necessary? Oh, I spelled necessary wrong. That's embarrassing. To give Lyria the tools needed to be better than a Red. So Darrow, he started off a Red, but he had to physically become a Gold to be able to have any kind of impact on the revolution. Reds are the bottom of the food chain. They are the lowest in the caste system. So is this Parasite a really good tool for Lyria to actually have insight, information, a way to sort of like excel and power up? Or is it a convenient plot device?
I feel like she never really needed it, honestly. Like, it definitely. So, right at the beginning of Iron Gold, one of her first chapters when her family's killed, she sees a gold knight fall into a lake and is like, is nobody going to go get him? And so she dives in and saves him. She has nothing. She has nowhere near the strength that she would need to be able to actually pull this off, but she does it anyway. I don't think that she needs a power up or whatever this thing is going to give her to be the character that she is, to have the growth that she has had over the past 2 books. So it's cute. And, it gives her the teeth, right? Which is what she needed. She needed the teeth to be able to pull this off. But beyond that, I'm not really that interested. It's got some interesting connotations to it. The poem that it spouts off is it's actually Sappho of Lesbos.
Whoa, what's that?
It's she's basically the lesbian poetess. She's literally where the word lesbian comes from.
That's cool.
Which I thought was interesting. Just why that of all poems. There's also Sappho, which is the name that Figment uses, which is another reference to Sappho. Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting connotations going on there, and that part I can certainly be interested in exploring more.
Lyria the lesbian.
It's a possibility.
Watch this space. All right. We were talking about Red's sort of needing assistance, and Avery says Rhona's a Red and she's doing just fine for now. And Cash22 says Rhona's actually got implants so she can drive a 10-story mech suit. So there's always a bit of something. But her and Alexander had a really good my heart had a really good dynamic. And I don't think Alexander was perturbed by the fact that she was a Red remotely. Rhonna has the Drakenjaeger, so it's academic. Yeah. Lyria has literal and metaphorical teeth. Thank you, KP Dubs. KP Dubs also said, hey, why not both? Why can't it be a plot device and be really cool technology to help her get a leg up? Sprinkle says, I feel like the parasite effect was cool, much like Vegeta being taken over by the Majin Buu. Great reference. Black Belt says, I loved Lyria's arc in this one. She's allowing herself to use her strengths. They could have easily made it seem like the parasite is the reason that she became vengeful, but the way that Pierce wrote it made it seem like a natural progression of her character. The parasite didn't take over, just helped her. And then Catch says, I'm pretty sure Pierce has got some messed up. Well, I missed the comment. Where did it go? What did you say?
He's got some messed up tragedy in store for her. I'm sure of it. Because to this point, just like think about all the bad things that have happened to her. Right, her family was killed by the Red Hand, and then she kind of gets adopted by the Telmanises, and then gets blamed for kidnapping the children, and then is shipped off and imprisoned by Victra, and then now she gets to watch Victra's child die, and then like all of these bad things have happened to her. Lyria, I like Lyria a lot. She's one of my favorite characters right now, but I feel like she's a bit of a punching bag sometimes.
Poor thing.
And I'm pretty sure Pierce has something just god awful in store for her.
Avery makes a really great point in an earlier comment saying, I must say I did enjoy getting to see the core golds fighting from other points of view. They really are like gods to the lower colors. I did love that perspective. When you're in it, it's normalized, but when you see it from a different perspective, it is just glorified. And it's a really cool sort of like reminder and a check to us that there's a reason why they're against the golds. There's a reason why the golds have been at the top of the caste system for so long as well. Who was having a chat? Who had another thought? Is that you, City?
I was saying that to Ketch's comment about waiting for, it seems like you're basically saying waiting for another shoe to drop. I think that part of the biggest strength of Lyria's character is that she's been through so much pain. She's been, she's lost her family. She's, been tortured. She's been imprisoned multiple times. And yet, for all that, one of the last things that she says when Harmony dies is, Harmony lived on pain. She'll get it to the end. Yeah. I don't miss the lesson. I don't miss the lesson. She's not saying the words, but she could have been Harmony if she just embraced the hatred. But she's now deciding to move on to live for more. She doesn't say those words, but that's the sentiment behind her actions here. She's going to keep going, keep fighting, remembering her family, but not hating everybody else for what happened to them.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to say it, because you're right. Like that's the path that she was forging on if she kept channeling her anger. Harmony was fueled by resentment for the Golds, but she was willing to even hurt her fellow Reds. So you're just like, you've so far gone. You've missed the plot completely. But Lyria is the one who's grounding people like Victra, She's the one who's defying what it means to be a Red and is so much more capable than she even realizes. And I like that. Nick, you made a really good comment about potentially a parallel between the parasite and something else that we've discovered in this book. Do you want to tell us your idea?
Yeah, I really hope that the mind's eye that Lysander has is just like something along the lines of like the parasite, because I didn't like the mind's eye and how it seemed like it was like this mystical power that came out of nowhere that only Lysander had. So it being tech would make a lot more sense to me. So I hope that's how it plays out.
I would like to learn more about that as well. We've had a couple of introductions of things that you're like, since when? And the mind's eye was definitely one of them. We had a flashback with Lysander, who was taught by his grandmother, the Sovereign, about how to constantly be observing your surroundings and being able to foreshadow, forecast, manipulate, understand who's around you at any given time, and then using that to your advantage, which he did in the desert to his survival. Right at the end, we're skipping to Lysander's last chapter. Apollonius is back, and as an exchange of Apollonius's help, he wants to learn the mind's eye. And Lysander is kind of alluding to the fact that it can be taught. So if it is in fact the parasite and it's just an insertion of technology, that's, I guess, essentially teaching someone the ways by opening that up to them. Reddit also has suggested, though, that Lysander just has a photographic memory, and that's the thing that he was sort of taught or possessed, and that's how he was able to unlock the mind's eye as well. Vaden says with his... Oh, yes, Nick?
It could be like his grandma, like Octavia, like inserted it into him without his knowledge, so he thinks that it was something she taught.
Is capable of some fucking shitty shit.
Yeah.
Swart. Swart. Yeah, that's what happens when I say fucking shitty shit. Yeah, you go swart. Sorry, we do have a exclamation mark swear count here if I say naughty words. Colleen says, I thought it was a skill that he learned. This is what we're about to find out. We have had 5 books to understand how Darrow has become a godlike force. To have Lysander be his equal and true enemy, I guess, I think that this is sort of a shortcut that we are learning that will bump Lysander to try and get to Darrow's level. Lisa says, yeah, I kind of read it as he was trained as a child and that's why he has it. It's just a skill that he's honed. So there are a couple of things that have happened in this book. And I guess it's like, is it convenient? Is it a plot device? Or is it brilliant storytelling, introducing new technology, new sci-fi tropes, or new ways to explore these characters and have things further in that particular way? Hey, J-Dog, thanks for the follow a minute ago. Welcome. It's Maude's Book Club. We are reading Dark Age by Pierce Brown. We're going full spoilers, so if you haven't finished it, run, because we're coming at you with all the book. Wilpos says, I felt it was more a state of mind rather than a skill, like meditation. Oh, hands up who meditates.
It's definitely meditation.
2. We need to get better about meditation, everyone. It is so integral to mental health. I am projecting every day at 10:45 a.m. I have a little notification. Bing. Say one thing you're grateful for and do some meditation. And this is what I do now. Fuck off. All right. So I need to be better about that as well. Darren says, with Apollonius wanting it from Lysander, it made me feel like there was more to it. Yeah, it's not something that you can just like Ding. There it is. I bought it on Etsy. It's not like that. Nick said, I agree. But the things that he could do with just meditation were crazy. So that's why I felt it was more mystical than just that. It almost alluded as well that it was like genetically disposed to like the Loon family or the Loon lineage. So I don't know. I guess we'll find out
There
more
could be
about
something
it.
to that. I mean, we talked. I mean, Mustang talks a bit about how she's got some genetic modifications that are intrinsic to her line. You know, like the anti-pheromone thing that she's got going on. So there could be something to the idea that, you know, part of what makes the mind's eye work is that the loons have been genetically modified.
Grimshift
honestly,
is in
like
here.
I'm not even sure.
What's that?
I'm not even sure I buy into the idea that Lysander can really teach it, because it's not the first time he's lied to get somebody's support. You know, he does it with Gilrastes as well.
Yeah.
He just straight up lies to him and gets him to help. So I feel like this is more like Lysander he's making allies by lying to them to get them to help him.
And who else does that? Darrow. Darrow has done this in spades. He has promised the world and broken it completely. Two of the ones, he destroyed the dockyards on, is it Ganymede? Ganymede, whatever. Ganymede, thank you. And obliterated sort of like the rim from the core. And Darrow also did it with saying, yeah, we're going to use the Storm Giant, but we're not going to rise it above the level that we need. Even though Darrow didn't break that promise, someone that he entrusted did. And as a leader, the responsibility falls onto him. And I feel like that's what we are discovering more and more. It was a really cool thing that I saw in Reddit, which was like, Dark Age reminds us that compassion can get you killed. Sephi trying to make the Obsidians be peaceful ends up getting her killed. Darrow choosing to share the medicine with the town gets his legions destroyed. Darrow lets Lysander live, only to have him back to try and kill him. Ditto for letting the Jackal's goons live in prison. Mustang tolerating the Vox gets her overthrown. So this is what's like a really interesting discussion, I find, where it's like they are ruling with a little bit more compassion, but it bites them in the butt. And I feel like Lysander has a really great discussion at the end of the book. Is it better to be loved than feared, or feared over love? And I think that love and compassion go hand in hand. And if Mustang obliterated the Vox or didn't allow them to have a voice, if Darrow killed all of the Jackal's goons, or killed Lysander, I guess the argument could be made, then we wouldn't have a book. But I do think that we are living through despair in this book because of kinder actions that have previously taken place. So what is the lesson?
Yeah, I think that's kind of related to this relates to the general, more broader discussion about like teaching people things and like almost like a parental child relationship. Like if you let people make their own choices, they can disappoint you, but you have to let them do that. Otherwise, you are essentially controlling their actions and not letting them be themselves. Exactly. So if Mustang has to let the Vox make their choices, even though she doesn't disagree with them sometimes. It causes Darrow to go, kind of mad and go on his trip, which he did in Iron Gold, and then the consequences happen afterwards in this book. But like, if you try to take over and make all the right decisions in quotes, for everyone, then you're not letting them be themselves. And in this case, some decisions will come back to bite you. You have to accept that. Otherwise, you're not. Otherwise, you become a dictator. So
you're a tyrant. I'm sure.
You are, yeah. And it's like the reason why the golds are trying to be broken down, because they are essentially a tyrant is one person, so a tyranny doesn't really work like that. Is it more of a dictatorship? What would you call it? There's probably a really apt name for it.
For what? I mean, they do call Atalantia the dictator. That is her actual title. So
she certainly puts
going back to Romans again. They literally Romans called somebody a dictator. He's like, all right, we're giving you emergency powers, fight this war for us. So it's Pierce's Roman fetish coming back again.
Yep. And I've got a question about that in the doc. Claire Grant has entered the chat. She's coming in hot, saying, "You're so hot." Thanks, Claire. Now, Claire, yes, academic. I'm not proving it, but yes. Academic, you said that you've got a lot of thoughts about sort of like the consequences of compassion in a way. KB Dubs gifted a sub to Claire. How are you, Claire? So, fun fact, Claire and I started this series around the same time, but she didn't have to commit to sort of a book club schedule, so she just powered through them. We've been reading a lot of the same books lately, which has been a lot of fun. I got her onto Divine Rivals. She loved it. Yes. I think she's already started this one, and we're going to be doing it as a bonus book next month. Claire, we're talking Dark Age. What did you give it out of 5, if you're still there? I want to hear your reviews. KB Dub says, and I hear she's really good at billiards. She's certainly better than me. She's very good to have as a teammate. I offered no help at all. Could have lost us the game. She sunk every ball, including the black before the last ball. So she lost it. That's the thing, though. I can't lose a game that I don't sink a ball. So logic for that one. Academic, sorry, you said you had a lot of thoughts earlier.
Yeah, this is with regarding compassion and whether or not it'll bite you in the bum. I think that one of the I think are the two main points of view in this book, which are Lysander and Darrow, and we have they're starting from different ends with the same sort of noble heart. And so Lysander at the end has that treatise that you're talking about, where he's thinking about what is the worth of honor and how he recognizes that people like Atlas even have honor, and Darrow has honor, and all of these people have honor, and Octavia was bereft of it. But it was on Octavia's shoulders that the entirety of Gold Society was able to run and function for hundreds of years until someone like Darrow showed up. So I think one of the main themes that we're going to see going forward is that the price of Darrow's dream, of Eo's dream, of Virginia's dream, of the Reformer's dream is you have to rule with the idea of compassion if you want any semblance of freedom. Because without that compassion, you can't have the empathy to actually allow people to make the decisions that they are going to make. And that's a price that you're going to have to be willing to pay. Whereas, and I think what Lysander is going to have to come to grips with in the coming books is that if the society that he reveres so much, that this order that he seems to like be a little creepily
he's so anti-chaos, that he's just begging for order. And he's like, you know what, the Golds, they've got it right, I think. But if I could kind of just tweak a few things, because I think I actually know what's best. And you're like, honey. Will Poss has been doing a lot of great quotes and has many from this book. He says, I think, as with all things, honor is best appreciated in moderation, as is cruelty. That's a quote from Lysander. So slippery slope. Nick says, I think Lysander is already realizing that he won. K. says Lysander's family was fucked up all along. What's interesting about Lysander is, like, he's notoriously hated by the Red Rising community. Like, there is literally a fuck Lysander subreddit. I don't hate Lysander. And I think he's a really fascinating character. Especially in the last couple of books. He has a lot of Cassius in him. You kind of like learn about that and how Cassius has shaped him in the last 10 years. You also see him starting to learn the truth behind a lot of things that he was only observing as a boy, like what his grandmother did. His grandmother killed his mother. Octavia wiped out her daughter, you know, and hid it all and kept that under wraps. Lisa says, I just hate that he isn't on our side. I know, it was so close. It's just like,
They hate his hypocrisy. Like, he's talking about how he's, he wants to make everything better, and the society was great and all that. And meanwhile, he's surrounded by so much evidence that it's not. Like, people will point to things like him shooting Alexander, but honestly, like that I can understand. But it's the hypocrisy that this man boy exhibits that really pisses people off. And I don't think that there's anybody who's a fan of the series who would be able to tell you that Lysander is not an excellently written character. It's the fact that he's so well written and still so detestable that spawns his own separate subreddit.
Well,
I just didn't have one.
He never wanted leadership. He just wanted to stay alive. And so when his name, or when the fact that he was still alive starts spreading and people are like taking the knee for him, he's like, whoa, 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 no. I'm wondering how much of that was genuine and how much was strategic. Because he effectively did build an army. And he's managed to turn Heliopolis against Darrow and the Rising. Like, that was so expertly done. Like, yeah, it was just so excellently done, but like, we're getting his point of view, which you would think is the authentic sort of undertakings of his brain. When he realized that, I think, people asserting power to him, it was like too soon, and he still needed Atalantia, Ajax, etc., to like him and to bring him in until he, I think, had security. Ajax having a gripe from childhood seemed a little, I mean, it's very fucking gold, isn't it? It's golds and grudges. And I feel like Lysander, again, was so green that he's like, what do you mean you're trying to kill me? It's like, come on, buddy. Whoa, like, you posed somewhat of a threat a while ago. And so now he's like removing chess pieces on the board. If you're deemed a threat, you're done. Like, you have to play it so strategically. Will Poss is out. It says Lysander shooting Alexander was a dagger. Hail Reaper. Lysander saying he has honor and then shooting Alexander in the head. I mean, I feel like Lysander would have given him the time and honor that was deserved. He just ran out of time. And it was Alexander being at the wrong place at the wrong time and him having to take care of him.
Didn't have to shoot him in the head.
What would he have done instead? What would he have done instead?
Shoot him in the leg.
So he
think he always had to kill Alexander. There was no way around it. But I think had they not delayed Lysander's plans so long, they probably could have had a pretty epic freaking duel.
I'm going to say the most anti-feminist thing. I'm going to say this whole thing. I would have rather they killed Rhonna instead of Alexander.
Interesting.
Why actually, considering how much you like Cassius, that actually doesn't surprise me. Alexander is basically
I have a type. No, I feel like the Arcos' story always gets underdelivered. It's the biggest, like, Lornau Arcos was the biggest overpromise and underdeliver. He was such an incredible character through Geld and Sun and then died at the end. Alexander, I thought, in my mind, would have been the character that would have maintained that legacy and would have given us the extension of Lorne's character that we weren't given. This is, again, another, I think, cop-out where it's like Alexander left for half of this book to do a beautiful, noble gesture. But, why are we introducing Lorne and his legacy and always kind of like nipping it? Rhonna had more foreshadowing. Rhonna has been into the mission, was kept getting more and more kind of into the thick of it, and things were moving so fast that Darrow couldn't even take a step back and be like, I got to protect her. You know, it was just rolling with the punches. The foreshadowing of Rhonna made more sense. I don't think many people agree with me. No. I just, tell the Arcos story. Please. Avery says Pierce probably flipped a coin to decide which of them to kill. Let me find out.
Don't forget what Lauren's.
I've got $50 that says it didn't.
One of his favorite things.
Oh no,
was
both names were in the hat for sure.
He gets death.
I'll bet you anything. There wasn't a hat involved in that death.
Rhonna. I'm a book.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I honestly thought Lysander was going to take Rhonna with him, like imprison her or something.
Should have
That
slowed
would
him
have
down.
killing Alexander is removing a threat, and also that would have hurt Darrow. But taking Rhonna would have completely broken Darrow. Like
that's exactly what Nick commented.
Darrow was
like
the final straw.
Killing Alexander
Darrow
was to see how
behind
cruel the
Lysander as the
universe
wife.
is.
If Rhonna had killed, or if he had taken Rhonna, he would never have gotten away from Darrow and Thraxton. Like they would have absolutely caught him, and they would have torn him limb from limb. He had to leave. He had to get out of there. That's why he shot Alexander in the head in the first place.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'm hopefully going to get an answer from that one soon. Avery says, "I thought both of them
If he
would
dies,
die."
as he did.
Now that's an interesting. Maude, don't do this. You're on camera. We'll talk about the after show. We're not talking about anything. We're not talking about anything in the after show. Academic says, Lorna Arcos, death begets death begets death. It's right there in the theme of his legacy. God damn it, you're right. You're so right. Ugh. Okay. How are we feeling about Lysander's part? He's a well-written character. We're seeing more growth. He's turning more and more into the thing that he hates, aka his grandmother, who he never really hated, but now that he finds out more about her, he's loathing her, but also transforming into her.
Yeah. People like to compare Darrow and Lysander a lot, but what I think would be more accurate is Lysander is a lot more like the Reaper than Darrow himself. Like Reaper is just a part of who Darrow is. The other part of it is, Darrow makes friends who will follow him into hell, like the end of Morningstar.
And Lysander collects assets. He collects assets, doesn't he?
He collects selfish, their allies. They will work with him, but they won't go into hell for him. They will work with him as long as it serves them.
Yeah, there's no loyalty, but Darrow has unwavering loyalty. Someone in the Reddit was like, "Hey, do you think that's Screwball? What's his
Screwface?
Screwface. Do you think that Screwface is now undercover for Octavia? Atalantia. And he's like now a double agent. And I was like, oh, except the fact that or maybe the turning point could be the fact that no one went back for Severo. One of my big questions that I had is with Dark Age, we're talking about, the first one that I have is, with this book, can you still enjoy the book with such a heavy tone? Would this book have been better were it to cultivate a sense of wonder, hope, or excitement instead of the onslaught of dread? And to the second follow-up with that one, I will say is, how did you find the absence of the previously integral characters and also lighter characters such as Severo and Cassius? There was very little Severo and Cassius in this particular book, and they provided light-hearted moments as well as opportunities of savior and hope. Tim has his hand up.
I love Severo, but I didn't miss him. Like I didn't miss his presence in this book at all. Looking back on it, I'm like, where would he have fit in? And the only places I could see him fitting in would be his typical pulling Darrow out of a bad place, right?
And that's exactly what happens.
The way this book went, there really isn't any place for that.
Little Weird Guy, thank you for a tier 3 sub for 32 months. Really appreciate you. Hope things are going well in Australia. Claire Grant says Darrow is an if the ends justify the means guy. Lysander is an entitled, misguided prick. We need to get that as a quote. Very well said, Claire. It's all for Severo. How dare you?
I made Claire mad. I'm sorry.
All for Severo. Okay, Frito says, I was missing Severo a lot. It's technically Cassius died, so how do you miss someone that's dead? True.
I definitely don't think that you're going to get a lot of people agreeing with you about Severo. Okay.
No, dude. We needed Severo.
That's fine.
The only thing we really learned about Severo is that he... this is what sucks. I'm surprised it really wasn't sort of picked apart more. Darrow went back for Orion. Virginia didn't go back for Severo.
That was a tactical decision.
She couldn't.
And
She couldn't.
Virginia couldn't.
And
go
they agreed that they couldn't. Her hands were absolutely tied. But how would you feel if you were Severo?
Fucking pissed.
Yeah.
Nah, I bet Severo is he. I think he's cold enough that he gets it, right? I think he understands. Like he's probably like, I can't believe that I'm in this situation, but I think he's smart enough that he knows were they to come get him, it would have been a slaughter and they would have all been dead. I think Severo's smart enough to know that.
We are thinking. We just think. Avery says, even if I enjoyed this book, I would still only have given it a 4 because of the lack of Severo. You miss this guy. I mean, I don't miss his hygiene because, good Lord, that's horrible. But the only thing that the big reveal that we had from Severo, and it was kind of more insight into the end of Iron Gold, and that was his palace. Vaden says Severo's palace is the best chapter in Dark Age, in my opinion. It was a little reprieve from just the onslaught of despair. But we learn not only is his palace completely booby-trapped, some which Darrow couldn't even offset, but he has holograms and holographs of his daughters. And it's almost like a shrine to them. And you recognize that he's a dad and his role of fatherhood has completely shifted and changed him, and it didn't for Darrow. Darrow maintains his leadership in war to be his entire identity and personality, and Severo didn't want it to be anymore. And I think that moment where Darrow's in the palace and he's reminded about Severo and really has this insight into what's important, Darrow is just like, I'm a shit dad and I really need to stop ignoring my son for the do my ends justify the means? Does saving millions and millions of people justify the fact that I'm a shitty father? I wonder, we're talking about, is Lysander like Darrow or is he like the Reaper? I wonder if Pax is going to be like Lysander. We are learning more about Pax in these chapters as well. So let's shift gears into Ephraim's chapters. Ephraim was super shades of grey, pun intended, in Iron Gold. He was a mercenary. It was working for the dollar, and he kidnaps Pax and Electra. This book, it's his redemption arc, and we know that redemption arcs usually end in disaster. KB Dubs, he was an addict. He sure was. He was suffering through 10 years of grief for Trig, and Volga was his only sort of, I guess, moral compass, but he was losing himself big time. And I think that he's a really interesting character. He's almost like the comedic relief since we don't have Severo. And Ephraim's he's like somehow quite a likable guy, but he's a little bit of a cockroach as well. He just couldn't die. He somehow always was in a position where he couldn't, and then he did. But he was always in these situations where people saw him as an asset. He could talk his way out of situations. He had even Victor coming after him, and he still manages to kind of live to fight another day. Avery says, Ephraim's section was my favorite. I love how unimportant the golds and the society were in this section of the book until the end. Ephraim's main story arc was around Sephi. Sephi had branched off from supporting the sovereign, Mustang, etc. She was building her own army. She enlisted the help of Ephraim because she realized that he could kidnap 2 of the most important children in the damn galaxy. And he was going to train the Skoogie. Got confirmation on that, the Skoogie. The interactions that Ephraim has with Pax is really fascinating and interesting. The, I guess, fate that Ephraim's story is tying in with Sephi was, I think, quite interesting. And it felt like his luck had to run out, and it does. What are my Ephraim questions? Where are my Ephraim? I should have put them in better order. I did not.
I think one of my favorite comments about Ephraim is that he grows on you like a fungus.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like fungus. But I hear what you're saying.
He's kind of an asshole, but you still kind of grow to like him. I mean, throughout his entire arc, like it's not like he changes from Iron Gold to Dark Age. He's still an asshole.
Yeah, he
but
is. But you respect that.
You can definitely still like him. Yeah.
I'd take an arsehole over, was it Plithy and the other one in this one? Remember, like it's basically the little hand.
Xenophon?
Xenophon and who did I say?
You're not the white that was with Sephi?
Oh, there's like 3 of them.
That was Xenophon.
Who's also the one who's Lilith's puppet in the council?
Oh, that's Publius.
Publius, yeah.
The copper.
Publius. But do you remember in the first trilogy there was like Plithy who was doing the same thing to Nero, and he was trying to ice out Darrow and Virginia. Pliny.
I just want to say what the hell is she talking about?
Pliny, whatever it is.
Whatever.
Pliny.
Nick's got an interesting take on Ephraim. I liked Ephraim's chapters and stuff with the Obsidians. It was interesting, but all a waste of pages. So many pages spent on the love triangle and drama with Sephi, and all the characters are dead at the end. You make a great point. At the end of the day, what did this matter? What did we get from it? What's the chessboard look like? What did Ephraim have to do? What is the stakes that he's left behind? We now have the Volsum Far is working with Atlas. So it was just a change of hands for Minami. Who wants to break down sort of like the point of Ephraim in this entire book? That's a really great point, Nick.
I feel like Ephraim was there as the witness. He's there to show what happens with the Obsidians. The Obsidians have broken away because they've been used as Darrow's tool to, break the society for 10 years now. And they're sick of it. They've got war exhaustion. They want to actually go on to the living that they were promised in the first place. But they've turned their back on an enemy that will not stop until they are all dead. Honestly, like there's just a really great moment. It's chapter 23 where Pax takes down a bunch of Obsidians. They turn their backs on him, and then he tears them apart. And it's the same thing. They turn their back on the Republic. They turn their back against the Society, and they are now suffering for it because now one of the Society's pawns in Volsung Fa has swept in and messed them up. And Ephraim is there to just watch it all. He's not there to grow. He's doomed. He's there to show us what happens to the Obsidians when they break faith, when they betray the Republic. And he's also there to show us Pax.
Yeah, okay. So here's the question. Like, how did you feel about losing a main point of view character? Talk about how Ephraim's demise took place. And do you think we'll get a Volga point of view next? Because Ephraim had put all bets on Volga his entire life, basically. And Volga is now set up to potentially dethrone Volsung Fa or team up with Volsung Fa. Like, that's going to be sort of like the steps into the next book. So there's 3 questions here. How did you feel about losing a main point of view character? I'm ready for Pax's point of view, says Academic. Hey, Frito says he was a good influence on Pax. The next question is, talk about how Ephraim's demise took place. I think we kind of went over that a little bit. And then the last one was, who is going to replace him? A lot of Reddit discussions where he was my favorite character. He really shone this book in particularly, and the fact that he died, it's actually a reason for a lot of people to stop reading. There was like a sense of injustice behind it all. I didn't even feel like it was the end, because it was a first person of like, I'm watching him eat my heart. You're like, okay, you really high? What happened? Like, this can't be real. You're not talking. This needs a third person view on it, surely. Like, it just didn't feel like it was sort of the end. Vaden says, sad, because I liked Ephraim. I don't think Volga will have her own point of view. I think she's too tied to Lyria, who's become a point of view already. Catch says his chapters gave us an eye into the fall of Sephi and closed his character's arc. Avery says, I think it was Pierce's way of trying to show us that not even the main characters are safe. KP Dub says he kept trying to last book.
KP's talking about him making the sacrifice play because I said that.
Yeah.
I felt like he was. I felt like that even in Iron Gold. I was like, this is the guy that's going to make that sacrifice play at some point. I kind of felt like I always knew he was going to do that.
Once he started to have a reason to live, it was over for him. Got it.
Yep. But he was always destined for that sacrifice play anyways.
Okay, Frito didn't believe in his death at first either. Now that we're talking about deaths, let's bring up the big one. Which death struck hardest? Is it Alexander, Sephi, Ephraim, or Ulysses?
Ulysses.
Ulysses, definitely. That was the one part in the book where I was just like, what the fuck?
Okay, so here's the message that I wrote. I just got this Maude to Pierce on Saturday, 2:57 p.m. I just got up to the part of Victor's birth and oh my God. And he says, oh boy, ... And then how much later? The next day, Ulysses, we barely knew thee, I wrote with a heartbreak emoji. And he says, before you climbed a mighty tree. And that's when I said, Pierce, for fuck's sake. And then he did a little smiley face. I'm like, no. Oh boy, right? Yeah, even that was fueled. Victoria was pregnant all the last book and all of this book. That's been her main identity and personality. The fact that she's been a badass pregnant woman this entire time. Zelda's back. Yay, Zelda. Thank you. The way she gave birth was a big boon to her character. All of this was like so exciting. He's got three girls. He's got 3 girls. Severo, we recognize that his girls are his life. He finally got a boy. Victor has gone through fucking hell. They've found a refuge. They've got a place. Victor handles it. It turns out the house that they've got is being ruled or challenged by someone from the Red Hand. And yeah, basically there's a mob attack on Victra, and I don't even know if I want to say it out loud. If you read it, you know what happens. And it is violent. It is disgusting. It is stomach churning. It is really difficult. Was this necessary to the story? Or is Pierce trying to continue a level of shock value? Or was this necessary to build purpose for their vengeance against the Red Hands and Harmony? Is this the catalyst for Lyria's big moment? Who wants to weigh in?
I guess I initially thought it was for like more shock value, but I think looking back at it now more, it seems like it felt like he had seen some way to force Victoria into the fight. Like she and Severo had decided to focus on themselves, focus on their family, and kind of withdrew for the war. And this forced a lot of changes for people. Her, Severo eventually, probably, and Lyria. Like it's a big change in the trajectory of a lot of characters' like motivation. So they're gonna feel like they have to settle this and get this over with. They want their revenge, and they're not gonna stop until they get it.
Claire makes a great point. Nothing else will bring Severo back to Darrow. So this is the catalyst that Severo needs now, because I mean, he spent Iron Gold wanting to get back to his family because his daughter was kidnapped. Now this, Nick says, I feel like his death was shock value and cheap. Lyria already had enough ammo to fuel her hate for the Red Hand. Victoria would have taken them out no problem. Ulysses dying wasn't necessary. This is the hard thing about media, all story, and newborns. A lot of the time when a character gets pregnant, it can stifle the story. Sometimes when a guy actually meets a girl that he likes, it can stifle the story, hence the term fridging, where you kind of just take care of that so you can free the character up for more. I don't feel like Ulysses staying an infant would have impacted much, because we've seen how capable Victra is. And I agree that I don't think that this needed to happen as another way to urge our heroes on. Yes, academic. As a father of a baby.
A couple babies, actually, right? So,
Couple
no,
babies.
that whole section was rough. I'm not gonna lie. I think that might have been one of the reasons why I gave it such a low rating the first time.
Right.
But I kind of agree with Vaden on the point that both Severo and Victra had sort of not necessarily checked out of the war, but they were sort of counting a lot of their chickens before they were hatched. Like you see in Iron Gold, Victra, and all of the Optimates top brass were in the Sovereign's home talking about what's going on politically, and they're like, oh, what about my mines and whatnot. And so they're behind the war, but they're still kind of suffering from the indolence of sort of being at the top of this. They think that they're almost through it because they've pushed back all of the core Gold's forces on Earth, on Mercury now, on Venus. They're just on Venus, right? And so now here, like this Victor is like completely bought in again, and this entire part of this entire second half of this series has been like, war sucks, and it only sucks more the longer it goes. And you see this indolence not only from the top brass, but also from the populace. They're tired of war. We see this in real life. We get tired of war, right? And so, but sometimes the job's not done until it's done, and recognizing exactly when it's done is difficult.
Right. And so this kind of like provides focus again in a horrible way.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
In a horrible way.
In a horrible way. It definitely shows how evil Harmony had become, says Andy, following up to Lisa's comment of... Where was your comment, Lisa? What did you say?
I just said I felt like it might have just been more to show how far Harmony and the Red Hand would go. Like it's all just kind of meaningless violence to me. But I feel like maybe that was just kind of another way to show just how much they don't give a shit and they'll do whatever they want.
Yep. All right, we're gonna go a full 180 here. So much senseless killing in this universe, says K Frito. Seriously, this one's too hard. We all agree it was a lot, not lovely, pretty hard. Either Victra's going to be broken or she's going to fucking phoenix the shit out of life. One way to find out. Okay. The Jackal. Let's talk about the Jackal. I had this spoiled for me 2 books ago. I had Alexander's death spoiled for me on TikTok. I blocked that person. Clone, what? Avery says, I hated it. So the Jackal had his trilogy arc. The Jackal was a huge antagonist of these books. He was an antagonist during the Red Rising with his reputation as a goddamn cannibal. He cuts off his own hand. And he was always been Mustang's adversary. They are twins? Brothers? Twins. And he was so... He succumbed to the fact that he was never going to get his father's approval. And that was sort of the biggest lesson. And even though there was compassion where Mustang kind of did the mercy pulling of the legs, the Jackal had a few cards up his sleeve. Apparently, he put his DNA ready to be cloned aside so that should shit go down, he could be reborn, delivered the memories and information of his previous life into the new Jackal. Now, I've thought about this with sci-fi. If I were cloned, would I work with Maude 2 or against Maude 2? What if I am Maude 2? Would I want to be Maude 1? Who's got the hierarchy here? I guess the fact that the Jackal 1's already dead means that there's no competition. But like, I would love to see a little bit more it's a Mustang chapter. We talk about psychological brain, help me out, like we get into the whys a lot more. A lot of people on Reddit said that it would have made more sense to have Lilith take over from Jackal. Lilith was the syndicate queen. Lilith has actually been running operations. She was the frightening one. She, fueled by sort of like the Jackal's vengeance, wanted to take his place. The fact that it's a clone, it's very similar to the parasite. We are introducing new technology. Has anyone been cloned before? Is cloning really a thing? Like, if he's able to do it with ease, why isn't anyone else able to do it? I also think that Lilith being the syndicate queen was completely undermined when you see how she behaves around the Jackal. She becomes such a lesser character, and it takes away all of the fear, all of the substance from her immediately. Did I like seeing Mustang use that psychology and try to manipulate and outplay this Jackal clone? There were some fun moments. Is it the sci-fi technology that is enhancing the story? Is it a plot device that's convenient to have this happen? Where do you sit? I think people either love it or put up with it. They're the options. Ken. Thank you. Tom says the fox has been cloned 26 times or something. So Sophocles is the example of cloning. But yeah, Ken, tell me what your thoughts are.
Well, I just think that it is a plot device that not only wasn't needed, but undermined a lot of the whole situation in this series, which is the lower colors rising. We were led to believe this, like, copper and the silvers and all these others were starting to come together. They were going to take power. No, it was just another gold all along. It was a clone of Jackal. That was the part I hated. And so, like, I don't even care about these chapters.
But you're right. Like the Vox Populi or Plubius, it was like, oh, cool, we've got other players here. Quicksilver, being not a gold, having all of this power. This was what was interesting. This is how Darrow's uprising has affected the different color systems. But you're right. We keep finding that the puppet masters are always the golds. It's always the golds who have the power. It's always the golds that are behind things. Academic, you got thoughts, and then Tim will move to you, and then Avery, it looks like you're about to say something. I swear to God. So Academic, will go you.
I agree with the feeling like, oh no, there's another puppet master behind the scenes, but it does seem like Publius at Caraval was still saying that to Virgin, he thought he was the puppet master. He thought he was pulling the strings. So it seems like a lot of the uprising emotions were real and true. It wasn't that there wasn't any threads to pull on. And I do think that something similar would have happened. It's more like Lilith and her ilk and the Jackal were shoved it in the direction that they wanted it to go to their devices. And because they had the power, they could do it and mold it to their devices.
Mm-hmm. Tim, you got thoughts?
I hated the whole idea of cloning the Jackal. And then it comes out that they didn't really clone the Jackal as much as they grow a new Jackal and then basically raised it based on stories of the Jackal. So it's not even really the Jackal in anything other than face. It's just a facsimile of the Jackal. It's not even the same person, so it's not technically a clone. It just feels a little bit pointless to me.
Okay. Avery?
Which is... No, Avery is first. Go ahead.
As everyone has seen me say multiple times, my biggest complaint about this book is there was just way too much going on. And this was one of the ones that I was just like, this is so just... It has nothing to do with anything else happening. Like, Lilith is not connected to Atalantia, and as far as we know at this point. And why? There was yeah. So I hated it. I mean, I knew that a dead character was going to come back because they, I had mentioned, they literally, there was 5 pages where they were just talking in depth about cloning and how it always messes up when it happens. So I was like, okay, so some dead character's about to come back because they spent so much time talking about this topic, but I still, even though I expected it, I didn't necessarily expect a Jackal, but I expected a dead character. I still hated it. And this was probably the first point where I was like, if I hadn't been reading it with the book club, I probably would have put the book down and not picked it back up.
Yeah, wow. Okay. Do you also think that like Lilith was established in a way where she could have actually handled that, the podium that Jackal kind of left when he passed? Like she's got 10 years. She's almost like the opposite or like the shadow of Ephraim. Ephraim was fueled by grief for 10 years over Trig. He turned to sort of like small crime. It was more about survival and like personal sabotage. Like he had just, it was fueled with self-hatred. And I feel like Lilith was fueled by vengeance and wanted to almost honor his death by becoming bigger than him. And I know we've got a lot of powerful women here, but I really I would have loved this Lilith versus Mustang versus Victra showdown, because it just undermined the reveal that it was Lilith as the Syndicate. And the Syndicate played a huge part in Iron Gold. We had that as a through line the entire way. And then it was revealed, and then she became a footstool for the Jackal, like quite quickly. So that power shift wasn't like, it kind of just shut all over Lilith in a way, especially those dynamics that they had. Lilith was motivated by a perverted sense of love rather than vengeance. Yes. And I think I like the fact that Mustang, or Virginia in this case, because she's very much sovereign first, she's exploiting that. That is 100% Lilith's weakness here. Lilith had to immediately took a back seat for the Jackal here. And I just don't know if the Jackal was necessary to this story. Is it an interesting thing that I didn't see coming, really? I was like, yeah, sure. Like, this is always going to be Mustang's thorn. I think that book 5, introducing a character that we haven't seen for a book and a half, is a little shoehorny, is a little like wedged in when we do have an established character for the last book and a half that could have had that mantle and could have had a very different dynamic. I want to keep reading just to kind of see where this goes. I do think it cheapened Lilith as a character when that was really strong. Like her at the end of Golden Sun, are you kidding me? Soink, skunk. Like she would wear teeth in her hair during Red Rising. Like this is someone who I think could have had amazing substance and completely have taken the mantle of the Jackal instead of just being a bench warmer.
But not somebody who could stand up to Mustang is the problem. There's only one person in the solar system who could stand up to Mustang, and that's her twin. If you treat the Abomination as a character, yeah, he's kind of weak. But honestly, I've kind of grown to the point where I don't even think of him as a character as much as I do a walking, talking nightmare of, everything that Mustang has been trying to fight against for her entire life. It's not the Jackal. It's the Abomination. This is a twisted reflection of him. And she realizes that pretty quickly. And that's how she's able to use it against him, because he wants to be the Jackal. He desperately wants to be the Jackal. Yeah. But this isn't him. This is a joke wrapped in a nightmare.
And then when Lilith,
and so if there's going to be somebody who could take her down, it was her brother.
Okay.
Not Lilith.
But Mustang's usually been 3 steps ahead. She's now emotionally and physically battered and broken. And then freaking Lilith also just hatchets her a few times as well for good measure. Like Mustang's not operating on the top of her game. And I think that Darrow thought Mustang had died. Now Mustang thinks Darrow's dead. Like that's weighing on them as well. Virginia has always been smarter than the Jackal. But we haven't seen Lilith in 10 years, says Avery. She could have gotten super smart and strategic in those 10 years and come back to match Mustang. Exactly. She's become a syndicate queen. She's literally overrun the entire sovereignty.
Mayball's back.
Like, Plubius is her puppet.
He talks about how she presents him with puzzles when he was a child. She's literally using the Abomination to get that power. She didn't earn the syndicate on her own. She used her twisted ass boyfriend's son weird. I don't even want to think about that.
boyfriend
to
slash
get to power. She
son.
didn't earn anything.
Yeah, it's messed up, isn't it? Like she carried him in her womb. I just thought it was so interesting that like Plubius thought that he had all of this power, and it's such a beautiful like visual moment where she collars him and makes him walk on all fours like a dog. Like, this is a guy who thought he was leading the charge, and the fact that Lilith was behind that, even, and now it's like, well, it's just that, you know, behind every, in this book, good woman is the Jackal. And you're like, ah. Avery says it's a very weird movie with that plot starring Matt Smith called Womb. I don't think that's for me. I'll tell you that right now. Knowing how to apply tactics is one thing, says Catch. Being intelligent and creative is another. Black Belt says, I agree with City. Virginia is so smart, but no one else besides the Jackal has come close to her intelligence in everything. So it does provide an interesting foil to her character. And Academic jokes that Mustang's now the real hatchet face. Ooh, it was a collarbone, wasn't it? Oh no, she got lopped an ear off. She's missing an ear as well. Oh my God, she's had a bad run in this book. Ugh. I think we've got like one more thing to talk about. Who didn't put in their review, and what do we think is going to happen in the next book? There are some living questions I found on Reddit. Excuse me. The snipers that we meet in the last battle on Mercury before the cavalry charge are very likely Lyria's brothers. We got that? Oh, yeah, no, Katie didn't. It blew her mind. Saw that. They got shipped off to war a whiles back, and they looked the same. And they're like, are you brothers? And they're like, yeah. All right. Do we know if Rhonna made it out after being taken to the ship after Alexander's death is another one? I'm guessing yes. You know this book, if there's no body, then they're not dead.
No body, no death.
That's it. And then this Redditor was wondering about the yellow deaths thing. This is what Sephi had been infected with, right? Her heart was kind of rotting. She was rotting, started with her hand, I believe. It was very Dumbledore taking care of the Horcrux kind of visual for me. If Volsunfar eats Sephi's heart, though, did he just infect himself with the poison? That's what happens. Cannibalism will get you in the end. And let this be a lesson, everyone.
I mean, wouldn't he know about that? It just seems odd.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought as well.
Did they say where the yellow death came from? Didn't they say it was like a gift from Atalantia or something? I forget. I know they mentioned it, like how she got it.
Right. But Atlas and Atalantia are working together, and Fa works for Atlas.
So yeah, it would make sense that Fa probably knows about it, and because that's probably why he was able to like talk about how she was weak and couldn't kill the Drake and all, because he knows all this because it's coming from other people, and so maybe he knows that whatever this yellow death is probably won't affect him because it sounds like something that was DNA locked to Sephi in particular.
Okay. Well, he's her father, so that would work. But at the same time, everything that Foss says on paper, this is just a big hulking barbarian who's just really scary because he, physically beats up Sephi, who's also a decent fighter. But everything that's actually happening, like Ephraim recognizes pretty quickly that this guy is an expert at tearing people down. This is not a dumb, brute who's just coming in and tearing things apart willy-nilly. This guy's got a plan.
Yeah. This is like evil Ragnar.
I think that he knew. Yeah, he knew all about what he was getting himself into. Xenophon was a spy. He knew about the the yellow death. Red death. Like it was. There was a plan here. Nothing that happened here was an accident.
Oh, I had another hot take before when we were talking about the Abomination. Two people are going to get this, but it'll make sense. Just a reminder that the season 3 of Buffy with the Abomination with Adam was the weakest season. So at least it gets it. Thank God. I knew you would, Lise. I knew that would be one for you. The question that City has in the document, which I really like. Hey, what's Atlas up to? What's Atlas up to?
Playing both sides against the middle. That's what he's doing.
It's another gold puppet master. He's got Lysander on his side. Got the balsam bar. Come on, says KP Dubs. You can read Atlas like a map. Get out. What's Atlas up to? I don't like that sound. That was a good trick. That's better. Atlas is planting forests, says Tom Tom. What's Atlas up to? Predictions, please. Predictions of the next book. What do we got? If you've read it, don't tell us. Predictions only. Also, it's
forests. Oh.
Also, it sounds like we are gonna take a little breather from this one for a bit, yeah? Group decision. A little breather.
June book. Lightbringer.
The June book. Let's keep going. Keep pushing that back, I believe. Avery says Atlas is helping the Rim. Cassius is gonna be back. My boy. I've actually got something that I'm going to tell the after show only about something. Who I would cast myself as if the show does happen. You can guess. Everyone make your guesses in the chat. Also, I'm not 16, so that cuts out a lot of characters. Nick says there's so many plot threads and different villains. I have no idea how anything's going to play out. True. Maude, what if it's a clone of Cassius? The more the merrier. There's can never have too many Cassiuses. K. Frito says, are you going to be Cassius's future wife? Correct. Academic, so I'm so curious about how or if the Rim will fracture. Rim's taken a bit of a backseat this book too. If you've been enjoying talking along with this book club, join the Discord. Click that little link there. Join us, just like, we've had a couple of people join. Let me read out your names. Oh, how about you, Snake has joined us. BC has joined us. CMDR Fleet Carino. Hello. Says, okay, cool, yeah. AL Kemi has just joined as well, just now. Hey. Lovely to have you in the Discord. Some of it's locked for members only. If you want to be a member, patreon.com/Maude's Book Club. It unlocks channels in the Discord. It gives you double entries for giveaways when we do those. We got to get some giveaways happening, hey? The last one that we did a giveaway for, Ken, you won it. It's here. It's holding my camera at the moment, but it's a Japanese folklore book that we had. How do you like it, KP Dubs? Have you got it?
Got it. Have not read it yet. It looks interesting, though.
Yeah, I like the look of it too. It was very good timing because we did the Poppy War last month, which had a lot of Japanese-inspired folklore in it too. All right, well, that's book 5 done. 2 days time. Friday, get your questions in. Pierce Brown, Q&A, 1 hour. Be there, be square. I got him a new camera and a microphone, so hopefully it looks and sounds better this time. Get your questions in. If you're a member, you'll have access
we
to
barely
the
talked about Darrow.
Oh, yeah, no, I did have a question in here for Darrow. You ready? Whose perspective is the most interesting and why is Darrow's the least? I skipped over it, but let's chat about it in the Discord. We've got Dark Age up for 3 more hours before we change it over to May and June's book, Brandon Sanderson, The Way of Kings, arguably one of the best fantasy books of all time. It is thick. We're covering it in 4 parts. If that's not your style, we got a bonus book, Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. It is a follow-up to Divine Rivals, which we did in February. I loved this book. If you do want to catch up for that one, it's a pretty quick and easy read. Hopefully you'll love it as much as I do. Claire Grant says, love you, Team Maude forever. I got Claire Grant hooked onto these, so I got another one. We're going to be doing... where are you? I've got June's book. June's bonus book, Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. We covered House of the Cerulean Sea, I believe, like 1.5 to 2 years ago. He is an openly gay author who writes queer characters. Cerulean Sea, fantastic book. I absolutely loved it. I think my mum read it with us as well, and then she passed it on to her book club, and they all loved it. So that's, yeah, these are your upcoming books, just so you've got enough of a heads up. There's a lot of reading to be done. We'll hold you accountable over in the Discord. Members Plus, don't go anywhere. We're going to have a chill. We're going to hang out. Who should we raid in the interim? Hey, TikTok, thank you for showing up. Oh, MDG.
Jason Charles Miller is on.
Ah, cool. Mark says, hi, Maude, just joining in. What was that about cloning? You're better off not knowing. Me, DG, has done a 2-part joke. Did you read it, KP Dubs? Which was a pun. I feel like you and him would be kindred spirits. I'm going to read it. Hi, Maude. I bet my friend that I could build a car out of spaghetti. Understandably, she was very skeptical, but you should have seen her face when I drove past her. I liked it. Maiden's got his head in his hands. You know, it's a good joke when that happens. Hell yeah. Frito, thanks for all the roses over there. I feel like
it's one of those ones that gets stuck in an email.
Slutty Bartfast is a name that's that's gonna break me. That's gonna break me. That's a great name. I don't even know why. It sounds like a teacher at Hogwarts, Slutty Bartfast, but I really dig it. I really like saying it. I'm gonna say it non-stop. Hello, Slutty Bartfast. It sounds like, you've seen the video of the Australian uncle changing his nephew's nappy and he retches the entire time? And the kid's, his name's Barty. And he's like, Barty, what's wrong, Barty? And the uncle's like, nothing, mate. Ugh. Anyway, Slutty Bartfast sounds like that entire video. All right, hold on, we're rating. Actually, Fortnite though. Fortnite. Sage has just jumped on. Let's raid Sage. I like Sage a lot. Nope, that's not it. One word. Yay! Please stick around. Drop some love hearts and books and MBCs over in Sage's chat. Sounds like she's just gotten started. Sage is a bit of a gun. She was on Smosh Games. She runs her own studio, Pixel Circus. They do a lot of Dungeons and Dragons content, and they do morning shows. So she gets up early to do that. So shower her with love, please. I ended on a high note. It didn't sound like a real end, but there you